So today we're going to speak a little bit about experiments and how they can help businesses grow. But before that, I would like to start with an interesting topic about choices in general. And interestingly, today I celebrate my 8th anniversary at Readdle, the company I joined 8 years ago. And I think, I couldn't imagine a better way to celebrate this milestone in my career. So, my name is Paul Sakhatskyi. I'm head of product marketing at Readdle. And for the last 5 years, I've been focusing on one of our flagship products called Documents. We had very humble beginning, and today we managed to grow our business to a multi-million product with the help of experiments, of course. So I'll share some insights and ideas, some solid figures, real use cases and examples, how we managed to do that. And hopefully you will find them actionable in your own products. So let's begin with some numbers. Anyway, clicker, as always. So this is the conversion rate in our app into the purchase for the last 3 years. Each basic, big step, big leap was primarily can be attributed to some of our experiments that I will show you later on. And this is how our revenue chart looked like. As you can see, Documents actually started a long time ago, but for almost a decade, it had been basically brand awareness product. It wasn't a business. We had plenty of downloads, plenty of users, but in terms of business KPIs, it was absolutely free. However, as I mentioned, in 2019, we started proactively experimenting and coming up with new ideas how to pivot into actual business. So what is Documents? So Documents is from a category of apps called Super App or Everything app. Basically, it's a file manager for iOS that is reinforced by powerful viewers that allows you to store, open, manage, work with multiple file formats on iPhone and iPad. It's absolutely free in terms of a commodity. You can use it for free. All the players, all the viewers are free. We monetize through professional use cases, such as professional PDF editing, audio editing, which is built into the app. So we don't use ads, and primarily our traffic sources are organic. So people just spread the word about the product. This would be helpful just to kind of have a context about some future examples that I will demonstrate shortly. So, as I mentioned, we started from a very small team of 3 people. We had plenty of users. We had a lot of ambitions, but lack of resources. And when you are in this position, you need to actually make first big choices that we needed to make. And we made probably 2 primary decisions that actually keep using and that benefit us a lot. The first decision was there are in general 2 major approaches on how you can scale and run experiments on your business. The first one, we usually call it spray and pray, like when you have a bunch of hypotheses and you, test everything out, every pixel, from colors of the button to call to actions to background to everything. This approach, you also can call it creative-based approach, whatever. But the thing is that there are some very important components to make it work. The first component, you should control your traffic. So it's very difficult to build it on organic traffic solely. The second thing, your processes should be tuned to very fast pace that you need to accomplish. Some companies has to create, 30, 50 creatives a week, so which is incredible pace. So we decided to take a different path. And our path was every change that we make should be really bold, should be different, should be like substantial to user experience and to the product. So we decided to take the whole strategy by quality rather than quantity. And I'll show you later how it actually works. So the second thing that we decided to do, we should document every step of our journey. So as you can see on the screen, this was our first spreadsheet that we created back then. We started documenting like everything that we've done. I do still have this template. Right now we're using different tooling to store and document stuff that we create, but the structure is basically the same. At the end of this presentation, I'll show you a QR code. You can reach out to me via LinkedIn and I'll send you this template if you want to use it in your experiments and your growth. So what is in the essence, in the core of our approach? Basically, it's a scientific method, very standard, well-known thing. It contains 5 major steps. The first one is observation. The second one is hypothesis. Number 3 is experiment. Number 4, evaluation. And the last one, learnings and next steps. The best part of this kind of approach and these steps is that it's not a linear progression. It's actually a cycle when learnings and next steps usually serve as a fuel for the next round of observations and hypotheses. So let's see how they work one by one. But before that, it's just from our experience and observation. Everybody does experiments, everybody evaluates them, but not many companies and professionals actually pay attention to observations, hypotheses, and learnings and next steps. So let me show you how we tackle all of these steps. And let's start with the observations. We utilize 4 major sources of observations in our hypothesis in our research. So the first one is very obvious: user interviews, customer support, reviews. I'll show you later on some of the hypotheses that we got from this source. The second one is analytics. We use Amplitude, different other tools to build funnels, measure users' behavior inside the app, etc. The number 3 is very important, and we found it very interesting. It's called Insight from the Market. Right now, it's based on our own network, so we try to reach out to professionals from the industry on the weekly basis, have chats, share experiences, and we gain a lot of insights from this source. Number 4 is observations after previous experiments that I mentioned before. And last but not least, common sense. So sometimes you don't need like precise, exact observation to come up with an idea, and we just need to accept it. So I think all of us have like built-in engine that can generate ideas and hypotheses with experience. So it's very important how you fit it. So for example, we look at different applications all the time. We look at different designs, and this helps sometimes to come with really breakthroughs. So the second part is hypothesis. Hypothesis, we write them down. We use Airtable to document right now all our activities. So we use very standard approach to formulate, to shape hypothesis. It contains with if, by, then, and because. You can just write it down. So basically, in our case, around 40% of all our initiatives just don't move further just because we cannot shape or create solid hypothesis around this idea. So until we have like real hypothesis behind that, only after that we start design process, development, and testing. And the experiments. So with the experiments, it's very interesting thing because there are multiple ways how to run them. Most of them you are aware of, 100% A/B tests, AAB tests, multivariable experiments. But there is one approach that we call leap of faith. So sometimes you don't need to run something as an A/B test. You just roll it out to all your users. We do that in several circumstances. Number one, if, for example, we cannot not to release this thing because it's a part of or a link in the chain of improvements in the app, and even though it's quite risky, we still make this happen. Or sometimes you understand that even if this experiment doesn't work, it won't affect business KPI significantly. So at the end of the day, you will just collect your data quicker. Last but not the least, we have evaluations and analytics. So we use multiple tools to evaluate our experiments, but I think everybody understands how this works. But most importantly, we try to embrace the knowledge sharing about these experiments. And usually after collecting the data, we share it with the whole team. And hopefully this can inspire other team members to run them. So fostering knowledge sharing within the company is critical for us and it's part of our business process. All right, so let's start with some use cases and actually see how this works in action. The first use case I wanted to share with you is very standard thing, which usually normally we call win-back campaigns. You don't need any observations for that, right? So we do understand that people churn from our products and we need to figure out how to win them back. And this is just common sense. And at first, when we started, like as any subscription business, we suffer from this problem. So the first thing that came to us was just, let's make a discount, right? I mean, obvious. People churned. Most of them say that the product is too expensive. Let's offer them some sweetener, right? We created very sophisticated system, spent like 2 months developing, designing the whole thing, released it. This is how the paywall actually looked. So we tried multiple variants and nothing happened. Like, I mean, it didn't work at all. Moreover, it made things even worse because now every new release, our developers needed to figure out how to support all these things, to test them, to make sure nothing breaks within this system. So it actually was like, I mean, it didn't bring any benefit for us, for our users, according to the data. So we had to get back to the drawing board. And the main learning that we found out from this is, I think if people don't understand the value of your product, it doesn't matter what discount you offer them, right? So, I mean, I won't pay anything, like even if it's like 99% discount, if I don't understand how this thing benefit me. So instead of that, we decided to try a different approach. And we thought, how can we maximize the value of our product and just get rid of discounts? So our approach was just to give people more time to experience the premium capabilities, just to spend as much time as they need to actually extract and get value from the product. So we offered our users 3 months access to our premium capabilities, absolutely for free. Luckily, this idea came to us during the Black Friday period, so we decided to use this as an opportunity to introduce it to our users. That's why you can see some Black Friday messaging on the screens. And it worked. So in a couple of days, we've got more than 26,000 trial activations. On average, the LTV of these users was like 2.5 times higher compared to standard ones. We haven't seen any refund rates or complaints about this. And the engagement of these users were really, really, really high.
You mean the trial conversion was high? Because it's 3 months free trial and then you need to pay, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you had a decent trial conversion. So that
even higher than with the standard 7-day trial. Yeah.
And how did you manage to control the nerves for like waiting for 3 months?
We just believed in ourselves. So I mean, so this is one of things that you call leap of faith, right? So you just, make this happen.
This will show to everybody.
I'll explain it in a second. So the approach that we took at this point of time was completely different. So we decided, let's not spend 2 months developing the whole thing, right? So we managed to create all these screens that I showed you before, like in less than 1 week, including development, QA, review process, etc. So we took very specific audience, user segment, the most promising one. So we didn't roll it out to all our users. And that's why it took us, 1 week to develop, localize, and release everything. The user segment was our existing users, so it wasn't rolled out to new users. And after that, we decided that, all right, 3 months is too much. I mean, it's great value for users, but for us as a business, we also need to think about business value. So we decided to decrease the trial period to 30 days, still keeping enormous value to our users, and roll this out as an evergreen campaign. So right now, we don't wait for Black Friday or any other occasion. It just works in the app based on some triggers. If people, cancel their trial, cancel their subscription, any other activity. So, and these are the results. So at the end of the day, we got plus, on average for these user segments, plus 6 months in their lifetime. The whole average recurring revenue of the product increased by 10% and 0 refund rate. In terms of growth. So of course we have some refund rate, but it's not that high. So 3 takeaways from this, right? So the first thing that we realized, we try now to break things into stages. So we don't create something like spending 2 months, 3 months developing this thing. We have internal rule. We try to, if it takes more than 1 sprint, which is in our case 2 weeks, it takes to develop something or create or illustrate a hypothesis, we try to break it down into smaller pieces. And that's what we do right now. The second thing, we try to focus on value. So we don't use discounts anymore. We use extended trials, another free period, another trial, whatever, but we try to focus on the value. And the third thing is, we don't accept things as a failure, if they even seems like a failure at the beginning. So we try searching, use these learnings as the next observations and hypotheses. The next one would be a little bit interactive. So what's going to happen? I will be showing you 2 screens, and your goal is to just guess which screen performed better in your view. And I'll explain you the hypothesis behind all the screens, etc. So let's begin with this one, the hypothesis first, right? So these were our first paywalls in the app, in our history, right? So the team came up with 2 ideas. The first idea on this screen was purely based on the messaging, so a promise, like make your PDF life easy. Almost nothing about features, capabilities, and functional benefits. The second screen, this upper part, was actually a video, so it wasn't just a static picture, it was a video illustrating features primarily. So there were some people there, but primarily like 90% of the video was just features, capabilities, etc. The message was a little bit different, get PDF superpowers. So what do you think? Which option won? Raise your hands who believes that this screen won. Wow, so many of you. All right, and this one? All right, I think you are oracles. We don't need A/B tests anymore. Yeah, you are right. I mean, this screen overperformed the alternative group by 67%. Like whooping result. And we said, wow, seems the messaging like bigger promise works better. But then we are getting back to the beginning, to the very beginning, when I mentioned that we try to make big, bold moves, meaning that these screens are different not only in terms of messaging, like the whole layout is different. How can you judge only by messaging? So we decided to run another experiment. We took the winner and basically changed just messaging. So you have make your PDF life easy, and here you have get PDF superpowers. So what do you think? Which option won? Who believes that the original version won? All right, and this one? Yeah, you fall in my trap. I knew that. So no difference at all. No difference at all. Like nothing, like exactly the same. So it turned out that our hypothesis, initial hypothesis, well, it wasn't the case. So the layout played more, let's say, critical role. That's why it was very, very important to question our results and just to double check them with an extra layer of experiments. So let's move on. The next hypothesis came from some observations. So we noticed that people normally say that Documents is very so-called native app. So the whole user experience is based on Apple's best practices, design guidelines, etc. So the look and feel of the product is very native. But the paywall wasn't, to be honest. So Apple don't use this imagery. They use different approach. So what we decided to do is to create a paywall that will reinforce this kind of native experience that people normally feel about the product. And we called it Apple style or plain style, purely based on capabilities and features. Added, different colors, etc. So, what do you think? Who believes that this one won? No, we have onboarding process. Yeah, of course. I can elaborate on that later on. Yeah.
The same onboarding.
Yeah, the same onboarding, absolutely, yeah. And who believes this one? Oh my God, oracles. So, all right, 23.5% improvement in this screen.
With the same onboarding, the same.
Exactly, it's like exactly the same onboarding. You don't believe me? All right. So this was like Victoria's option, which is great, and we thought, wow, cool, but not. There is a catch. So we brought down the data by countries, and indeed, this screen won in almost every region, every language, except one. Guess which country, in your view? China. So in China is the third biggest market for us, and the share of revenue and downloads is very high in this region. So this control group overperformed the alternative in China by 15%. So what we did at the end of the day, we released this version to almost every region except China, and kept that option in China. So overall improvement was not 23.5%, but 27%, which extra 4%, which is good cherry on top. Last thing, I promise. So there was another observation. I think most of you are well aware of this type of screens and paywalls. So we do all understand that the hypothesis behind this one is very simple. So people consider nowadays trial periods as postponed payments. So people are afraid of starting their trials because they will be charged in some period of time, usually unexpectedly, and just this is bad feeling. So what we decided to do, we decided to get rid of features, capabilities, and all the stuff, and we decided to focus on this like fear that you will be charged later on. That is why we try to explain people how the trial works on the screen. Our hypothesis was that the impact would be not on the trial conversions, but rather the conversion from trial to subscription, because, for obvious reasons. So what do you think? Which option won? This one? Who believes this one?
My price is different.
It was the same, sorry. I'm glad that you noticed. It was the same, yeah. Just my mistake. So who believes that this screen won? The control group. And this one? You downloaded the app, I think, because this screen is now in the app. Yeah, you're right, plus 42%. But the interesting thing was the actual conversion from the trial to subscription also improved, but not that much. The biggest improvement was actually into the trial. So plus 42% into the trial. And just great experience. Some takeaways after this thing. So the first, what we started with, you need to choose your approach wisely. As you noticed, all these screens are completely different. So we are not testing like button colors, etc., etc. We are using very bold moves and completely different approaches. And these are just paywalls. Of course, we have activations, flow, onboardings, and we keep this kind of strategy method everywhere. The second is always question your results. So if you use this method, there is a trade-off, which is sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish what actually impacted the final result. And that's why it's very important to question your results. Sometimes you need to just check it once again with another experiment. And the last one, don't be afraid of making bold moves. It's not that safe as it seems, but sometimes it works really well. So in 5 years of, after 5 years of running these experiments and using this method, we came up with primary 3 benefits for our team and for our business. The first one, as I mentioned before, overall numbers and improvement in conversion, revenue, etc., which is undeniably a great thing. The second thing, I think, is more important because we've become more confident in trying new things. So understanding how user behavior works and having this confidence that we can actually impact business KPIs in a smaller or a bigger way, our team just became more confident in doing and trying new things. And usually at this point of time, there is like a call to action, right? But I would try to do a little bit opposite. So I would try to say what you should definitely not to do. The first thing I would say, you shouldn't copy and paste this approach to your company, 100%. So from my experience, there is no bad or good solution. There is a solution that works for your product and for your business. You can get inspired by some of these examples, but copy pasting, it's just no way. The second thing I would say is, as I mentioned before, is don't be afraid to make bold moves. I mean, sometimes they pay off really, and that's just incredible benefit. And the last thing, don't forget to write things down, because this knowledge sharing, you might write a book afterwards, I don't know, about growing your business, but overall your team will change, your product will change, new people arrives, and you need just to share your knowledge, your experience with them. And if you don't document stuff, that will just become a little bit sophisticated to do. But one thing that we should definitely do is talk this all over. So let's move to the Q&A session. Thank you.